Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever, where today we're going to be looking at a 3v3 played on Neuroxis map generator. And before we get into introducing our players, with Team 1 on the bottom left, which feels weird to say, and Team 2 in the top right, let's go ahead and point out the buttons down below, the like, subscribe, comment, and of course the join button. Press any of those, I would greatly appreciate it, or hit the dislike button if you don't like my videos. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into introducing our players. Starting with Team 2, in the far south, we have ourselves a purple Seraphim going first land by the name of Azoros, walking his comm over to build a mass extractor. Up to the north of him, we have ourselves a red Cybern going first land by the name of Sepik21, rocking this Cybern comm, enjoying himself. Up to the north of him, he has a pink UEF for an ally. He's built first land, he's walking over to rush that Hydro, and his name is Sassin. And then we're going to move on to Team 2, starting in the far north with the blue Aeon going first land by the name of JFK. He might want to avoid open top cars for a little bit. As we move on to his first ally, the green Seraphim going first land by the name of Red X, who's going green, which green and red are opposites. Quite strange. But then we have ourselves a yellow Seraphim going first land by the name of Rowan Morris YT. He's rocking the yellow Seraphim comm. Did I say Cybern? I meant Seraphim. I don't know. I probably didn't mess it up, and I'm only messing it up now because I spoke. Let's talk about the map a little bit. There's not that much reclaim, only about 3,000, and most of it concentrated on these kind of change in elevation plateau areas. Let's just go ahead and give you an idea of the relief map of this MapGen map. Overall, it's a pretty flat map. There's a few changes in elevation, but not really anything significant. And overall, these players are going to be able to duke it out. From the ratings we have here, we have everything from Rowan Morse at 2100 down to Sepik at 700. Right now, both teams kind of have a spread of one player below 1000, one player above 1300 or at 1300, and then one player at 2000 or above. I've played a few games with Rowan, and I've played a few games with Azoros, and both of these players are really competent in the land game, and pretty good players. Of course, I don't need to tell you that. The 2000, the rating that is double most of the FAF player base, you should go ahead and tell you that. And, of course, just going to be a fun, chill match. Down here to the south, we have a lot of raiding units coming out. Some Selins now for Azoros. And they're going to run into a Thumb tank and be sorely upset whenever they realize that their life insurance policy is going to be collected upon. And, of course, we have other things like transports coming out from JFK, trying to get down here to the reclaim as quickly as possible. Very greedy play, like to see it. Up in the western team, we have players working their way over here to the kind of northern two mexes. This area where, of course, Sassin and JFK are probably going to duke it out quite a little bit with land forces. Some engineers and tanks and scouts out over here for Sassin. He's not quite being aggressive very much over here. JFK sending an entire Aurora and Spirit forward and trying to get a little bit more aggressive, trying to get a little bit of damage done. Over on the eastern side, a Selin has cloaked itself on top of a mass extractor that Rowan's going to be very unhappy to deal with. And overall, the players just continuing to expand on their own. And here soon we'll check in on reclaim in about a couple more minutes. There's a T1 bomber now out on the field for Azoros. He's sending it to the north, and unfortunately he gets immediately spotted out by a scout plane from JFK, which means that this bomber is probably going to be locked onto by some interceptors. JFK has his own E1 bomber along with that transport. Let's go ahead and check on the reclaim numbers. Overall, Red X, not a player you'd be expecting to see, But he is indeed the highest reclaiming individual on either team with 1,100. Sepik, the 700, is at 900. They must have just spawned with a ton of mass right next to themselves. And, of course, below them, JFK and Sasson, then Rowan and Azoros. So the players who have the most expansion match mixes somehow having the least reclaim, which is an interesting way for a map to be balanced. Overall, the teams continuing to duke it out. Over here in the center, some Aurora getting very aggressive with their positioning, but unfortunately this is just going to lead to the death of some Aurora out for JFK. He is going to get a few trade kills out, but the Aurora not known for their durability as they fall to the units coming out from Sepik and Sasson. And up here to the north, it seems as though Sasson has managed to maintain supremacy over this northern area. Has a couple of tanks here to defend, and once he gets another engineer out or his comm up there, he'll be able to take over yet another mass extractor. There is a T1 bomber over here. Probably going to want to respond to that. Probably Sasson needs to send in his few interceptors sitting around to go deal with that. Down to the south, there's really not that much going on. We do see JFK still having a decent presence down here with that drop, managing to set up some factories and getting some of these mass extractors. He's trying to play greedy, trying to get more mass on the map, trying to get an advantage over Sasson by just simply expanding to an area that he really just has no right to be in, considering. And Azoros and Rowan kind of equal on their expansion goals. Rowan having a few more units over here, though, in the center, and just in general kind of feels like Rowan has made more units so far. He's got a little bit of a jump on the land game, but overall I think he's a bit behind economically, as Azoros has spent a little bit more of his economy on getting T2 mexes. Over here in the center, some interceptors are fighting. Azoros going to lose all of his interceptors, which is going to be unfortunate. And while I say that, no, he doesn't. He still has the same number of interceptors that are above his base. They were just landed. I did not see them because they weren't flying around. Over here to the north, it seems as though a combined defense force out from Red X and JFK going to be fighting off the approaching raiding party of Sasson, which promptly decides to turn around and run away. Poor Archer there in the back, not quite as fast as the other tanks. But now the Striker's going to be able to fight the Aurora in equal numbers, and whenever Strikers get in range of Aurora in equal numbers, the Aurora lose, and lose badly. 5 versus 5 there, and the Aurora come out with only 2 kills. Not a very efficient trade for the pink, or for the blue Aeon up here in the north. Gonna have to see if he can redeem himself once he gets to some higher tech levels, because so far this early Aurora micro leaves a little to be desired. As an Aurora aficionado myself, as an avid Aeon and Cybran player now, I do appreciate some good Aeon micro, and I do realize how difficult it really can be, especially when you're having to manage a lot of stuff all at once. Over here in the center, seems as though Thoms are going to be engaging with the Mantis, and Thoms out from Azoros. Rowan going to take a really bad trade here. Going to lose almost all of his land forces. Over here, he was a little bit dominant for a while down here, but it seems as though the combined forces of Azoros and Sepik have managed to push him back off of this plateau, which of course he didn't really have the mass extractors up here, so he wasn't trying to hold it quite as heavily as JFK probably should be trying to with that early drop. Overall, these players continuing to duke it out, but it seems as though Sepik and Azoros going to get a lead down here on this southeastern corner. Speed and range on the way for a Rowan Morse, but is it going to be done in time? I think no, it's not the first upgrade. There's multiple other upgrades going on. We have T2 on the way for Azoros. T2 finished up for Sepik. Does Sasson have an upgrade? No, he does not. There was speed and range now finished up for JFK, who really needs to pressure it. He needs to use it. If you're going to invest in it, you got to play a little bit more aggressively. And speed and range also finished up for Red X. These players all starting to get their own upgrades on their comm. And now Rowan going to be walking northwestwardly towards the forces over here at this choke point out from both Azoros and Sepik. Sepik coming here in the middle. He's going to set up a fire base, but this is a this is the opposite of ambitious, whatever that is. This is a content fire base. This fire base is going to be a little bit interesting, as he's building it basically on his front door and saying, nope, I don't need to expand. A very low level mentality, but you got to respect it. It takes Takes a certain person to be able to be like, I'm going to build defenses here because I am happy with what I have. I do not want more. Rowan walking to the north with this gun comm, going to be able to pick up quite a few kills on these forces. Going to be mainly killing off the units out from Sepik, as it seems as though Azoros has decided to fall back, where Sepik is fully committed to just losing these forces. Rowan going to be halfway to his first rank of veterancy when all is said and done, maybe a little bit past it. That's going to make him a very, very happy camper indeed. Over here in the middle, Cerberus firing onto the comm of Red X has dissuaded him from walking any further forward, while JFK has managed to stop the line of factories that were going to be produced here with his gun comm, and he's already up to 1 rank of veterancy and halfway towards the 2nd rank as he continues to blap away at these units out from Sasson and get a little bit of an advantage. Sasson up here in the north, having the gun damage and range upgrade himself means that he could pressure, but he needs to be a little bit careful. That gun damage and range upgrade is great for the UEF comm versus Aeon specifically, means you can one-shot the tanks of the Aeon, but overall is also a little bit dangerous to be letting the comm of JFK kind of get in here and get towards his production. JFK kills off a few factories, and that could mean a lot. Although JFK really lacking on his own land production, deciding that he doesn't need as many units as his opponent. Gonna have to see if that strategy works out for him. Over here into the southeast, we have another fight breaking out. This time it's kind of Rowan's comm versus an entire army out from Azoros. Azoros has T2 on the comm and is going to start trying to throw together an Utashala, which is the T2 Seraphim point defense, to ward off the yellow angry comm of Rowan. Do we have anything spicy going on? T2 Air about to finish up for Azoros, and he immediately starts producing Volthus. I wonder if that is on repeat build or if he's just going for 1. I would assume, yep, it is indeed repeat build, so Azoros maybe going to be going for a gunship snipe. Is there anything going on with the northern team's base that would point to something similar? No, not seeing anything, but a lot of players on the northern team do have their own air forces together. T2 land has already finished up for both Azoros and Rowan. So both of these high-rated players going to be able to get Ilshivas out in the field, and we already see some Ilshivas trickling in for Rowan. Over here in the center, Azoros in a lot of trouble. His Utashala getting taken down quite easily. Sorry, had a tickle in my throat. I was trying to just talk through it. Fun fact, doesn't work. I deeply apologize for that. But the fight going very poorly for Azoros as double Seraphim gun comm surprisingly effective. Although I'm pretty sure double any, 2 of any of the gun comms is quite effective in this early into a match. But there's a lot of units showing up for Sasson. Sasson deciding that his opponent isn't building enough units to really scare him, so he just sends all of his units to the south. Red X now in a modicum of trouble and in a predicament that most players do not like to be in, basically surrounded by units. Very luckily, the terrain helping Red X at the moment. Azoros going to start trying to push forward again, but Rowan and Red X are going to be able to create so much DPS with these comms. It's going to be very dangerous, although we do need to keep our eye on the Volthu count here in the back. We have 5 already. We could see 6 or 7 very, very soon. There's a lot of interceptors now out on the field for Rowan. And of course, there's interceptors out on the field for also Red X, and I wouldn't be surprised if, yep, there's a few out over here for JFK as well. It does feel as though this northern team, Team 2, has a lot more going for them in the Air Forces department. Don't like them landing all these units here. A huge reclaim field being produced over here. It's up to 6, almost 7,000 reclaim. And it's going to be very important. You can see Rowan already getting a ton of engineers coming up the back. He just needs to stay aggressive with the comm and keep this area under his relative control for a little bit. And he'll be in a good position to reclaim all of this mass field on his own. Maybe a little bit will go to Azoros, but Azoros doesn't quite have the same engineer build power in the area, so he's not really going to be able to get over here quite as quickly. And Rowan, a little bit more prepared for the fight, a little bit more the aggressor, was already having engineers show up to start reclaim. There's some Ilshivas on the field for both sides over here, and it seems as though there might be another fight. On the northern side, it seems as though the Aurora are trying to push against Assassin, not really getting very much done. There's T2 land now out for Sepik, who's trying to come over and help out his purple Seraphim ally. And overall, both sides working together. It seems as though T2 Air has finished up now for Rowan, and he's getting his own gunships, which really could come out in a big way, as gunships can fight each other. There's also a few flak showing up. I think he's sending the gunships now, but I think Azoros has kind of missed his timing. I feel like if he would have attacked whenever he had 5 or 6 or even 4 maybe, he would have been in a really strong position if he could just keep his Air Force alive long enough to deal with it. But now he's going to be going into a player who has multiple flaks showing up on the scene and his own gunships to try and help. Rowan Morris now being targeted down by the gunships. The Voltu's going to be shift G'd very beautifully onto the flak. Are they going to be able to kill the flak in time? It seems as though 2 of the flak go down pretty easily. The 3rd going down now. Voltu gunships showing up to try and deal with these gunships out from Zoros, and now Sepik Azoros gonna lose all of his gunships, and Rowan's gonna be sitting on a bunch of gunships, and there's no real Air Force to fight him. These gunships could just go down and try and kill Azoros, but Azoros is of course gonna build himself a flag quite quickly. It's not really going to affect him. I'm sure he's unhappy that the snipe didn't go his way, but as long as he can manage to get up here, he can get all of the reclaim from that, and that's gonna be a non-insignificant amount. Now in the back, he's reclaiming 16,000 reclaim on the field. Gonna be huge. Over here in the center, JFK and Assassin just starting to fight each other. A tactical missile launcher out from JFK, starting to get meaningful damage done as it kills off some tactical missile, some T2 mexes, and I don't really know if there's a buzzkill. There's a buzzkill started, but that's really not going to get anything done. Really going to need to see Assassin kill off that tactical missile launcher. If he doesn't, he's going to be in a world of pain. He's trying to kill off all of these units and all of the engineers, but I'd like to see him just throw one overcharge and a couple of shots into this Serpentine tactical missile launcher, and it could be huge. He's going to bring in some some T1 bombers, kill off the engineers, and do a little bit of damage onto the tactical missile launcher. But now Assassin under fire from Voltu gunships. Is he going to be able to get out of this safely? I don't really see any flak in his mix. There is some interceptor support coming out from Azoros to try and help with the situation, but Assassin getting pretty dangerously low on HP, almost down to 4k HP. He does, of course, have that nano regen or nano repair. I can't remember which one it's called for the UEF com. It's nano repair, which is going to give him a little bit boosted health regeneration, and of course that's really helping out. He gets a rank of Veteran C, so he's back into a safe HP range, and now it seems as though Zoros has a handle on the air game once again. He has so many more interceptors than his opponents. Over here in the middle, Red X showing up. He just got hit by something. Was that an artillery piece, or was that a tactical missile launcher? Because that was a little bit of a chunk of health. I'm guessing it was one of these Gunthers, to be honest. Yeah, it had to be one of these Gunthers. And of course, going to do some damage to Red X's gun comm over here. Seems as though a real sore spot for Team 2 is JFK's lack of units. He just doesn't have enough units to fight off Assassin or to put pressure on Assassin. Over here, a couple of Sparkies in combination with a lot of T1 engineers going to be trying to fire base aggressively against JFK, but that's not really going to work, as JFK just shows up with a gun comm and decides, hey, you're going to die. That's the most unfortunate overcharge I've seen in a while, just deciding to veer off and go into the nether. But not that horrible. Going to try and get up some PD to ward off the gun comm of JFK, but that's just not going to be effective. He is going to manage to build one wall, which is quite the assertion of dominance. And the T2 HQ for JFK goes down. He has no T2 build power anymore. He's just in a horrible position. Red X is going to try and continue to help, but Red X is just, he can't put his comm in needless danger. Assassin kind of in a dangerous position, doesn't need to worry about the possibility of an air snipe. He is on foreign territory. There's also some T2 PD that could be dangerous to him, but it looks as though he's just going to focus it down with his own gun comm. And I'd be surprised if we didn't see a snipe attempt coming out from Rowan as he has reached T3 air and is going for a strap bomber. Is T3 air finished up now for Azoros? It is indeed finished up for Azoros. It does seem as though Zoros is a little bit behind us. He does not quite have his T3 P-Gen finished up just yet, so it seems as though Rowan is going to get up his Strat Bomber before Zoros gets up too many ASF, but I would not be surprised to see an ASF or two out by the time that Strat Bomber is finished. Strat Bomber about 80% complete. Over here to the north, Assassin in a lot of danger now as Assassin falls down to 4,700 HP, getting chased down by JFK, and Red X needs to just kind of fall back down into the red with 4,000 HP. He's going to ward off the comm of JFK. The comm of JFK not going to go forward and attack anymore as his strikers show up. Some T1 PD now showing up to throw some damage into the comm of JFK, and that could be super dangerous as Assassin and Red X trying to deal damage to this comm of, as Red X and JFK trying to deal damage into this comm of Assassin. Is still at 2,000 HP, still just teetering on the edge. A lot of T1 damage going into him. This T1 PD, 100 DPS, plus the regen on Assassin's comm means that this is looking kind of deceptive, and I don't think Red X is going to be able to kill Assassin unless it's a comm explosion. Is the comm explosion going to kill Assassin? It does! They trade! Red X and Assassin manage to draw on each other, which you could argue is quite the trade up for Team 2, as a 900 trading for a 1,500 is quite huge. And now Zoros sitting on 2 bases. Strat Bomber out from Rowan. It's gotten in here. It's managed to kill off T2 P-Gens and might even get a pass in to kill off the T3 P-Gen. If he gets super lucky, we could see this T3 P-Gen goes down as the ASF show up. He manages to kill off more of the build power, doesn't quite get the T3 P-Gen, but if he has another Strat Bomber already built up, he could be very dangerous. I heard another Strat Bomb go off. A Strat Bomb is out on the field for Zoros as well, not quite getting the efficiency. As I looked at the other Strat Bomb that was out for Rowan, I saw somewhere around 10,000 mass killed, and this one not even on 1 mass killed yet. Needs to get some real damage done. Trying to go for the comm of JFK, but just not seeming to be able to find purchase on the former president's comm. And over here in the center, it seems as though Sepik, we haven't really talked about him very much, has gotten a huge T2 force into the base of Rowan. This Strat Bomber still going for the comm of JFK, but it seems as though this shield generator is not going to fall in this lifetime. Seems as though Rowan has forgotten he had ASF to kind of help out his buddy, but nonetheless, we have T2 units trying to power through these T1 point defense. You just need to kill off the engineers, kill off the remaining point defense, and you could get in here and deal some serious damage. I'd like to see him try and focus down this T3 P-Gen. That would be huge for setting back the economy of Rowan, who he still has multiple T3 P-Gens, and he still has a really strong economy, but every single one of these you take down is a chance for Zoros to try and catch up to the economy of Rowan, who is at over 200, or was until that T3 P-Gen went down, and is now fall down to just around 200, whereas Zoros is at 128. Zoros also getting tons of damage done over here on the to the west of this attack, as he has a bunch of units coming into JFK's base that formerly belonged to Assassin. He also needs to probably rebuild some of these mexes, but overall, both sides fighting valiantly. Seems as though Rowan is kind of collapsing on the ground front, though. He does manage to clean up the forces out from Sepik, but just doesn't seem to have the forces to just constantly fight this battle. And he is now working on a chicken to try and save himself from the impending doom, because I just think he has less units on the field than his opponent. That's a lot of Lobos. All of these factories apparently now going to produce Lobos, which is a pretty cool call out from Zoros. I guess he feels that the artillery will do its damage. If you have enough of it, it doesn't really matter if the units dodge, as all of the artillery is just going to be blanketing the area that your army exists in with fire, so dodging it becomes a little bit less useful when you have about 100 Lobos to dodge. Overall, the army out from Zoros trying to push forward, but there's not as many Ilshavas here. He needs to wait for some assistance out from Sepik, or he needs to wait until he has this larger Lobo force with him to try and fight this. He's trying to work his way around, but now he's about to get sandwiched in between 2 separate Ilshava forces out from Rowan. Rowan building a bunch of T1 factories, trying to get up some more factorial build power to help himself out. Let's go ahead and check on the reclaim numbers. Zoros sitting on an astounding 20,000 mass reclaimed, whereas Rowan sitting on 17,000. quite big numbers from both of these players, but I think that Rowan is in a little bit of a disadvantage, as this fire base means that Azuros is just going to be able to get quite a little bit more reclaim in terms of this reclaim field is just unassailable at the moment by Rowan. He just doesn't have his engineers can't get into it, and of course there's also a large army fighting his army. Huge battle going down. Ilsheva on Ilsheva violence. Rhinos coming in to aid some of the Ilshevas in a misguided attempt to broker peace between the humans and the subhuman species that mans this area. And overall, this battle seemingly going pretty well for Rowan. He's creating a large mass field. Doesn't seem as though he's going to falter here. I mean, he still has a strong core of Ilshevas to help him out. There's a lot of units coming in, but doesn't seem like they're getting any purchase with this attack, and it's just looking really, really bad. And overall, things going poorly. Chicken on the way and getting close to being done. Is that an artillery, or is that a tactical missile launcher trying to be used to kill off the chicken? It seems as though it's a tactical missile launcher, but the chicken comes out with 50,000 HP, so the tactical missile launcher getting a little bit of damage done. Azuros already falling back, but what is he going to do? This fire base goes down, and he just doesn't have the units to compete with Rowan right now. And he's on a somewhat even economy with Rowan, but having an even economy with Rowan while you have half the units just means you're behind. It's just kind of unfortunate. I mean, I'm not here to lecture people who are 10 times better than me at the game, but I am here to give my honest opinions on how things are going. And right now it feels as though Rowan's in a really strong position. A chicken was being built, if I recall correctly, over here for... Nope, it is now being built. For some reason I thought this pigeon was a chicken. Whenever I was zoomed out a little bit more, I saw all the engineers near it. But a response chicken going to be started by Azuros. The question is, can he buy enough time for that chicken to be completed? Because this one is going to be causing a lot of damage. Yathoda is not an experimental you want to mess around with, especially whenever you're still sitting on stuff like a bunch of T1 and you're not in your own T3 land. The chicken, if you abuse its range a little bit more, you can really deal with that T1 spam quite effectively. Whereas other experimentals might struggle with it. The Yathoda, quite okay at it. Now coming into the fire base over here, going to be picking up a little bit of a progress towards a rank of veterancy, as it does kill off some of this fire base equipment. Structures, very expensive in general, so if you can kill them off with an experimental, pretty good call. And going up to almost its first rank of vet, about 5,000 mass off from that first rank of vet. Over here to the north, Ras now on the way for JFK, and is that mass tac missile battery trying to hit the Yathoda? That's just not going to work. Of course, players still duking it out. Percival's now coming online for Azuros as he gets his UEF Tech 2T3, formerly belonging to Assassin. Over here in the middle of the map with Sepik. Sepik has quite the fire base here, but this isn't going to hold up to a chicken. I don't think Rowan really wants to kill off this fire base, because that will just give a ton of eco over to Azuros, and I'm sure he's a bit more scared of Azuros than he is of Sepik's. Sepik having all these T2 mexes. Over here to the south, the chicken continues to push forward. At this point, we're getting into that range where with Azuros getting this air control, we could see stuff like T1 bomber spam or gunship spam to try and shut down this chicken really quickly, and I'd be surprised if we don't see that. I think Azuros might be realizing right now, as he sees that 3 or 4 ASF are trying to fight his about 10 or 12. Does need to make sure he doesn't just eat a bunch of losses on his ASF. That's not very fortunate, but I'm sure he's under a lot of stress. The chicken is trying to walk its way into the main base of Azuros, and the response chicken not going to finish nearly in time. Volthus and T1 bombers now on the way. T1 bomber is going to be pretty good. They're going to have a decent amount of DPS. Of Corsairs now out from Sepik, going to be also trying to help out over here. I'm sure he's trying to build even more Corsairs to help out with dealing damage onto this Yathoda. Yathoda down to 18,000 HP. It's not an insignificant amount, but it is not full HP, which is going to be nice. Needs to get these gunships retargeted over on to the chicken. Needs to kill off that chicken first. The Ultras can be killed off a little bit easier than the chicken. The Volthus start coming in to start trying to kill off this chicken. It's going down in health relatively rapidly. The DPS from the gunships is nothing to scoff at. There is a few anti-air pieces now around for JFK, but they're not really going to be enough to kill off gunships very effectively. The flak on the Yathoda may as well not exist when it comes to killing off these T2 gunships. And the Yathoda is down to 10,000 HP and falling. It's going to start running away, running back towards Rowan's territory. He doesn't want to just give a completely free mass dump, but unfortunately this Yathoda is going to die before it walks very much further. And now there's some mass extractors at risk for sure for Azuros, but he still has a fighting chance in this game. Be surprised if I don't see him go back to the chicken and try and build that up. Over on the other side, Rowan got another chicken past the halfway point, up to 57% and rising. As the chicken dies, the gunship's going to try and get some harassment damage done on this southeastern border of the map. And overall, the fighting continues. Up to the north, a lot of pause factories. It just seems as though Zoros is starting to struggle. He has a third of the mass generation that Rowan does, and Rowan is just starting to look kind of unassailable this game. Really going to need to see something big out from Azoros. Azoros does have regen now on the comm, and he does have gun. So his comm's getting quite dangerous to anything except for experimentals and maybe some T3 units with that 18,000 HP. And of course, with more veterancy, that gets higher, and 92 health a second. Not too shabby. Aras about to finish up for JFK, who's been trying to quietly eco. Don't know if Aras before getting T3 mexes is the best call, but he is trying to get up there economically. He is up to T3 land. Percival showing up is going to be a bit of a downer for Rowan. Percival's very strong. If he can manage to build up a big old ball of, say, 20-ish Percivals, it's going to be a real big problem for Rowan, who isn't even really focusing on T3 land production itself. Like, he started producing T3 land, but he doesn't have a huge focus on it. He's just mainly building chickens. Assassin giving some fire basing advice to Zephic. Alright, so I'm sure there was some future Willow editing, woo, that explained that we had technical difficulties. And we're back into the gameplay and back into stuff. I'm having to get reacquainted with what all's going on. I was in the zone and completely disrupted it, but we do have some gunships down here to the east, starting to kill off some of this base that's been built up by JFK for such a long time. Going to be 2 nexus going down and factories nonetheless. Up here to the north, it seems as though JFK is just trying to eco real hard and trying to get his economy up on the levels that Rowan is at. JFK and Rowan both ahead of Azoros in mass generation. I feel that Azoros needs to get real aggressive and get some real damage done very soon, otherwise Rowan is just going to crush him with the sheer weight of his economy. Another chicken on the way. There's a chicken on the way for Azoros, but the problem is this chicken's going to be done, and even if it kills the opposing one, there's going to be one to follow that one up, and it just becomes this snowball effect where you can't really deal with it. He does have some Percivals out in the field, and if he gets enough Percivals, I would be worried for a chicken. I don't know the exact number. I know if you spread them out perfectly and the chicken is not microed, it's something like You can get it with single-digit numbers of Percivals, but you have to be very lucky to catch Rowan just letting his chicken die to 7 or 8 Percivals. But overall, Rowan is going to be getting his next chicken on the way. Sepik, we haven't talked about. Whoa, that was a mistake. Sepik, we haven't really talked about him much, but it'd be nice to see him start getting a little bit more involved. I'd like to see a lot of brick production. That could really help out his team. That T3 land, he does have some economy going. He has a T3 mech. He's not too strapped for mass. I think if you throw everything into that, into assisting this T3 land factory and maybe a tiny bit into mechs upgrades, he could reasonably produce a number of bricks that would be useful for his team. But overall, he's just still focused on getting out a lot of T2 units and trying to hold this front line. The chicken deciding to go southeast. I don't know what the hesitation here is. All he really is doing is giving Azoros time to finish his own chicken. Over here to the east, there is, of course, the Percival ball. 2 Percivals going down to one of those plasma death balls is really unfortunate. That's going to leave this chicken on almost halfway to first rank of veterancy, and very, very happy with itself as it's sitting on still on 60,000 HP. A very happy chicken. It is in the best of coops. Over here, there is Ras now on the way for Rowan, and he's still getting another chicken. The second chicken is 77% done and climbing quickly. So I think that Rowan is just going to have more experimentals, and that's a good strategy for winning a game. But Azoros is starting to build up a lot of strap bombers over here, and it's starting to look a little bit dangerous, especially with the lack of shielding up for Rowan. Could see if he could get up, say, 8 strap bombers. Could very much so deal a critical blow to the economy of the yellow Seraphim up here in the north, especially considering the air focus out from Rowan hasn't been that great, and Azoros has kind of had air control this entire time. Could see some huge damage. Seems as though Azoros more interested in throwing his chicken at the base of JFK, and if he were to fully commit to the base of JFK, I genuinely think he could get the kill onto JFK or get a lot of damage, but I also feel as though that would just be a mistake because Rowan would just immediately push down here to the south. Another chicken finishing for Rowan. A Ras on the way for Rowan, about to be finished up. You have 5 strap bombers, about to make it 6. You gotta go. You gotta go. I feel like this has been a thing with both the 2,000 rated players. I think they're both overestimating their opponent, and they're both giving a little bit too much respect. And I understand the feeling, but both sides could have had moments where I feel like if they just go forward, if they just go kind of brain dead, they could really get a lot done. Be it with this chicken, which has kind of just been sitting back despite there being no threat until very recently, and other things. I mean, I guess this chicken won't want to walk forward because of the strap bomber sitting in the back. I guess that is a pretty valid point, but also just kind of feels like a waste to just use it defensively when you're on such a huge economic lead. Chicken on chicken violence. Let's slow this down and get a really nice thumbnail. Let's see, is this chicken gonna turn around to fight? Oh, there we go. Iron balls being thrown at each other. Death and destruction being weighed on the scales. It seems as though Rowan's just going to straight up lose his chicken. The only dangerous part about this is the Yathoda out from Azoros is a little bit too close for comfort on that chicken explosion. He needs to continue to walk forward, but it's going to walk forward into a second chicken, and this Ion Storm could deal massive damage to the chicken Azoros. Luckily, it seems as though the Willow is going to deal a lot of that damage, but now the chicken from Azoros is going to go down to the next chicken out from Rowan, and Rowan trying to get an Awasa online. The massive strap bombers out from Azoros is coming in. This is a now or never moment. These strap bombers need to get massive damage done if he wants any kind of hope of getting back into this game. I personally think it'd be really good to go for an economic play here, but maybe he disagrees. He's, of course, much better than me in this entire video game thing. But the SAM site's going to be shooting down a couple of these strap bombers, which is going to be unfortunate. The strap bombs come in, they land on the comm of Rowan. I don't know how low Rowan got, but it's pretty damn low as Rowan falls down to, he lost 5,000 HP, which is not going to feel very good. But overall, those strap bombers taken down with very little struggle. I think that personally would have been a better call to maybe go for this base here with all the mass extractors. He could have gone for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mass extractors. He had about 7 or 8 mass strap bombers. He could have just gone for these 4 and taken out 4 T3 mexes. As long as he's continuing to eco behind that, I think he could possibly catch up. But then again, Rowan nearly at 700 mass a second. It's going to be hard to really derail his economy. So I get the logic, but it feels like giving up, to be honest. Over here in the center, there is a DeSoto being fought by Rhinos. The Rhinos, I don't think, win this, especially with the new rank of veterancy being earned on this chicken. But gonna do a lot of damage. The chicken's gonna fall down to sub 20k HP, and overall, Rowan gonna be in a strong position. Harb's showing up to try and defend the chicken. The chicken's gonna live with about 12,000 HP. And there's gonna be some tactical missile launches coming in. Are these gonna get the chicken? Oh no, those were actually Gunther shots. But we could see some tactical missile launcher shots. The chicken doesn't move and gets hit by these tactical missiles and maybe a couple of Gunther shots. I think it dies. Or maybe it's just these tactical missile launches needed. Oh, the chicken does go down, and if this could be a little bit dangerous, could lose a lot of Harbs very quickly, which would be unfortunate for JFK, but definitely probably going to lose these Ultras that were sitting next to the chicken. The Awasa on the way now, going to be dealing damage. JFK, haven't really noticed it, but down here on the southern side of the map, dealing some damage out to Zoros. So Zoros going to be showing up with his gun, Nano Tech 2 Comm, and killing off this army out from JFK. But JFK does have a nice little neat production sector over here, and he's just trying to harass and apply pressure onto Zoros on both sides of the map. He's up here in the north with sniper bots and harbingers applying pressure, and down here in the south with large T2 armies trying to be annoying. Rowan going for an Awasa. Overall, playing it very slow. Wonder why. Kind of like he's playing a bit timid, not really focused on dealing damage to his opponents. The Zoros is still trying to fight it out down here to the south. A nuclear missile, standard strategic missile launcher started for Zoros. We have an SMD built yet for Rowan Morsby do, but we saw earlier that the Zoros seems to have more of a focus on the air game. Could possibly just get some strap bombers in to level that SMD, and I'm sure that might be a part of the plan, because I'm sure that Zoros is well aware of the SMD. Yep, it's right there. You can see it in sight, and I'm sure he's noticed that. And he's going in with the ASF. He's going to try and use the ASF to ground bomb the Awasa, the experimental. Seems like a huge, I don't know, it felt like a waste of ASF, but maybe he just wants them to die before they can get off the ground. But if you kill it right here before it can get off the ground, he's just going to rebuild it in the same exact spot. So, looking a little desperate for a Zoros. And a GC now finishing up for JFK. They walk forward. GC just going to be able to walk into this base. There's really not that much to stop it. There's a lot of Percivals and such up here, but I think Zoros is just, he's too behind economically. We can check a few of the stats. 80,000 reclaim, so even more reclaim for Rowan. Rowan at 724 mass a second, which is like 4 to 5 times higher than Zoros, and still much higher than the second place person, which I think is Sepik. Surprisingly, I would think JFK would be pretty strong right now, but he's not. And Rowan seemingly playing with his food. Zoros, what's your mass income? 10% of yours, surely. Loki. Same Loki. Oh, sad. Yeah, sitting on 728 mass a second is very sad. Oh, dang. Only 728. Sad. Pros are funny. Much funny, very laugh. The Awasa finishes. Not sure how well that's gonna go for Azuros. Chicken finishes. He's gonna get another Awasa. I think I'm done watching this. Assassin aiming. It's over, and I'm kind of inclined to agree with him. So much so that I'm gonna go ahead and start with the outro, because it does seem as though this GC or the Awasas are gonna walk their way in. The of Azuros actually is gonna be hopping on a transport and saying goodbye. Oh, do we want to get the most clickbait of clickbaity thumbnails? Where we're like, 40-minute comm drop, question mark, question mark, question mark. How badly do I want the clickbait? I kind of want to try it now. See how much you all will put up with. Alright. It's either that or I use the chickens shooting at each other. But nobody likes chickens. Nobody clicks on the thumbnails that have chickens. I wonder how true that is. I know that if there's a monkey lord in the thumbnail, it's more likely to be clicked for sure. But now Azuros over here on the western side of the base in control cave. Yep, control. Too bad. Fun. Unfortunate. And I think that's the game. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to my patrons. You all are beautiful. I'll see you in the next one. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Sorry for the lack of casts. After upgrading my machine, I've had a lot of technical difficulties. Sitting down to do my normal cast length, which is here from 30 minutes to an hour, has been difficult to say the least, as I'm worried my computer's going to crash at the time, and I really don't like wasting footage. But you all are beautiful. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.